going on, guys? Welcome back to this episode of the Road to Redemption podcast. I am, as always, your host, Cam Williamson, bringing you the Shatter It movement with the Road to Redemption podcast, where we're shattering mental health, labels, and stigmas just by telling our stories, life lessons, and everything in between. Today, I'm going to talk about something that we all face. I know we do, even the toughest of the tough out there. You know how I know this? Because the worst thing you can do to a human being is put them in isolation. Today, we're talking about loneliness. Wow, I've suffered through loneliness most of my life because my parents worked a lot, and I was always either with babysitters, or once we became of age, we would just kind of, my sister was old enough she could watch me, and we were home by ourselves a lot. So I found ways early in life, even before the internet, that I could be entertained, watch TV for hours, go outside, do whatever. But when I got to be about the age of 15, for whatever reason, I realized that I really had an issue being alone, because every single time I was alone, it would lead to me doing something bad. I just talked about this in a couple episodes ago, which is what brought it up in my mind. I was kind of reviewing things and wondering where I bring the message from here. And dealing with loneliness is tough because a lot of people, especially people like me, think I like to be alone. I like to be by myself, do my own thing. I don't really have to take a whole lot of people's opinions into account in my daily life. But with that, you don't have people to talk to. Like, I had a best friend who I would call 4 or 5 times a day. And we stopped our friendship due to, differences of views that we saw, I guess, enough that we just don't talk anymore. But when that went away, I realized I really don't have friends. And I live in a state with my family where it's just me, my wife, and my one daughter. I don't have any other family where I live. So a part of my depression comes from a lot of the times I'm just alone in my own head. And people can call it boredom. I think that's an easy way to just cast someone aside and go, well, you just don't know how to be with yourself, and you need to learn to get comfortable in your own skin, and you can't stand just being bored. I don't think in 2021 people are ever going to be bored again. There's too much technology. There's too many videos. There's too, even someone like me, I listen to an ungodly amount of hours of podcasts. It's insane. I could probably look on my YouTube premium membership and see how many actual hours I watch, but I promise you it's a lot. And I was watching them the other day, and I looked and I was like, I watch these because I almost feel like these guys are my friends. Each week when I tune in, they're talking about things that I am aware of because I'm so engulfed in the community. And I'm like, these people aren't my friends. I'm just a fan of these shows. And I've kind of been tricked into the marketing of thinking that I'm closer to these people than I really am. And that led me down kind of an interesting pathway to go, when I'm alone, why do I hesitate? Why do we all hesitate to be alone so much? Why are we so quick to grab our phones when we're just sitting? Like, when you go to the restroom, why do you have to have your phone? What would be so terrible about the fact if you just sat there, right? Or if you were eating by yourself, could you just sit and eat by yourself and let the thoughts that come? Because I know, to me, that's tough. That's difficult. And a lot of it's just because I deal with one major issue of I can't let myself relax. Whether I wake up at 2 a.m. to give myself 5 hours to either go back to sleep or sit up and relax and watch podcasts, I have a hard time relaxing because of a lot of the crap that fills my head about how I think about myself, how people spoke to me in relationships my whole life. It manifests itself into anytime I'm relaxing, I feel like I'm doing something wrong. I should be doing something else that's productive. So when I push myself hard for months or years on end, whatever it is, and I hit that wall, I have to stop, because if I don't, I'm going to crash and burn hard. And I think a lot of us can relate to that, right? I think a lot of people can relate to, we think we want to be left alone. I think most of us genuinely believe that most of the time. When you're at work, when people are irritating you, you're like, God, if you just leave me alone, I would be fine. I would say max 2 days. 2 days of being left completely to your own devices, where there's no calling people, there's no texting people, there's no Facebook, there's no Instagram, there's no TikTok. You're not talking to anyone. You're not even conversating about little things like an exchange at the store. Cut off. It would take about 2 days for people to really start losing their bananas. Some people less. And when you dig into the philosophy behind the intellect of it all, it's just because we're uncomfortable dealing with past traumas that we haven't dealt with. In silence, in boredom, in times of being alone, you have to realize that sometimes, you can't run from yourself, right? And I think that's the biggest issue we all face. Whether it's our social media persona or the way we present ourselves to our families every day, like on a bad day, if you're having a bad day, I would hope that most of us present yourself in a way that your family almost doesn't even notice, right? You shouldn't be affecting their lives in a negative manner because you're having a bad day, right? In the same regard, you have to be able, I don't know how I want to say this. When you become so left to your own devices, you can become so analytical, right? That you're at your own detriment. You're analyzing yourself so much that all you do is drive yourself crazy. And I want to say that because most people don't do any time, and I don't know why I'm having a hard time getting this out. Most people don't spend any amount of time on self-analysis, right? So if you're left to your own devices and all intoxicants are taken away from you and there's nothing but you, and you're not trying to put on a strong face for your family, you're not trying to present a motivational self for social media, it's just you and you. You're going to find all the little nooks and crannies of your brain that you maybe have never seen. You're going to feel ways about yourself. How did I let myself get here? It's funny because when you find yourself alone, I do anyway, I start to validate why I'm alone. I don't know why it comes so natural for me to just go, oh yeah, here I am again, another day spent alone, because whatever. I'm not a person that people find entertaining, and then that's why, I start going down rabbit holes with the show of, well, this is why, the show doesn't take off, because I'm just not someone worthy of listening to or hearing my ideas. And you could see how those rabbit holes, if not uninterrupted, could get very, very, very deep. And that's why one of the number one signs of depression is you start to isolate yourself. You start to push yourself away from other people because you've started to rationalize all the shit in your own head so much that now it's becoming a physical manifestation. You're not even willing to leave the house out of fear of being judged or doing something wrong. I can't tell you, in my bad times, there's been days where I avoid going to the store because I'm like, if I go to the store and I forget something and come home, like, I'm going to be so tough on myself today. Like, I just don't have the capacity to stop this internal self-criticism, that I'm like, I would rather sit here alone in the dark all day long, which kills me because I miss my family. Obviously, they're at school and work all day, but I'm like, I cut myself off. I don't even want to talk. I don't want to text with people. I just want to be like, hey, kind of a silent. it's not a silent treatment. It's just it's an obvious difference in who I am. I'm usually very quick to respond, and when I get like that, I want to just cut people off because I feel like it's coming. I feel like the inevitable thing of them not answering, them not responding, or whatever is just going to lead to more loneliness anyway. So I would rather just cut off all communication with the outside world and just learn to delve in the, loneliness. And it's only when you can find what makes life bearable for you, right? If you're someone who spends a lot of time alone, there's got to be things. There has to be something in your life that excites you, that wakes you up every day, that gives you hope. For me, it's my kids, it's my family. I love cooking, so like for me, I like to be by myself and learn new cooking techniques that I can make my family better meals. I've really slacked recently on like bettering myself as far as a content creator, and I feel like I made a little push last summer right before the pandemic happened, and I kind of grew my knowledge base a lot, and then I just kind of stopped. I'll be real honest, when I lost the studio, man, it was tough. It was really tough because for the first time here in Tennessee, I felt like I actually built a family. Like I had people that I thought were really close to me, and I was, on Sundays I tried to have family dinners together and stuff. And those were people that I bought into everything that was said, and I listened, and I opened myself up again to having new encounters with people and trusting people possibly that was outside of my immediate family. And when everything fell apart and when times got tough, I felt like once again I was always clinging to like having to force everyone to be loyal to the situation. And then when I lost the studio and everyone dispersed and went their own ways, I kind of took it as a slap in the face. Like I tried my best to help everyone, like I usually do. I'm always a yes man. I'll do whatever you need just so you'll like me. And then again, I was left by myself, alone. And I was like, well, fuck. I did it to me again. I stopped focusing on my show. I stopped trying to better myself. I put all my thoughts, energy, and mental capacities into the collective and how can I help other people and how could I, do this for them. And I ended up alone again, and I think subconsciously I never really took time. I went from being, I guess, what I am now to a podcaster, content creator who just talks about life, and hopefully one day my show is something that people can relate to and maybe, if nothing else, just appreciate the vulnerability. But I went from being that and doing it out of my kid's bedroom, and I tried to open a studio to make a better place for the community, and I tried to do everything with the best intentions I can. And then I still sat by myself wondering, like, what did I do wrong? I had to have done something wrong. And I think that's a thought that a lot of people who spend a lot of time alone can be familiar with and can be comfortable with. It's easy to start taking that self-analysis and go, well, it must be me, right? If you can't, you're a sociopath, I think, right? Isn't that what they say? If you can't look at, the outside world and how you're being perceived, that's kind of one of the signs you're a sociopath. But like, I've always lived by a rule. If people keep leaving out of your life, the problem's probably not them, right? And that hurts. That hurts because sometimes it's them and sometimes it's you. It's never 100% of the time. Life is full of so many small interactions and exchanges between people and business to business, person to business, person to person, whatever the relationships are that vary. There's so many little things, inflections of voice, nonverbal cues, eye contact, non-eye contact. There's wounds from the past that can be triggered by a single word or action, or one small little thing can completely ruin someone's day that the person who did it maybe has no idea, right? There's so many things that could cause a encounter to be strained between two people, and I think we're getting too used to now in today's day and age. We're getting too used to just cutting people off and going into the recluseness of almost behind the door of social media. We don't feel like we're being antisocial because we're still engaging online. We're sending people little hearts and we're giving thumbs up on YouTube videos, and maybe even we're commenting on things we care about. But I think we've lost the humanity of just reaching out to people, genuinely reaching out to them with no agenda, not asking them to do anything on a certain day or not making them sign up to go get lunch, but just calling just to chit chat and not even having a, hey, I know we haven't talked in a while, just want to catch up. Like sometimes I used to call people, and I still do. I have people in my life that I call. It's just like, hey man, we may not talk for 5 minutes. We may just sit here, but like at least this is an opportunity for us to have an airway open to where I can tell you how I feel about you and about our relationship. And if nothing else, I could tell you I love you. And all right, man, I don't want to keep you. I just wanted to make sure I touch base with you. That kind of stuff has always meant a lot to me. And it's kind of the old tale, you can't expect yourself out of other people. I've always been pretty, clear with myself. Like I do these things because they're important to me, because I know what it feels like to have someone leave a house and just not engage with you at all. Be like, man, damn, I never thought about how much that hurt, but that actually hurts, to just mindlessly be kind of ignored. I don't ever want to do that to anyone. So, when I am an adult, I'll make sure that I never do that to anyone. And I try to share those things. Like when I think about them, and I'm not perfect, right? Like I'm sure there's days my wife comes home and I don't spring up to give her a kiss or whatever, but it's just something that you try to be conscious of. Small little things to try to improve your relationships with those around you. My dog's barking. Cash, stop. She's barking in her sleep. Just little things. Like I realize even with the relationships I do have, I'm not great at them all the time. With my wife, there's definitely times that I feel like I've cashed it in on days I didn't make dinner when I knew I could have. I had the energy and I just said, I don't feel like it. There's definitely, holidays that I could have done better. There's definitely times I could have listened more. And, she's amazing and she always forgives me and she always, sees who I truly am and not who I am in those moments. But a lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people just take you for who you are in maybe your worst moment or a bad time in your life, and then that's who you are forever. How many people do you remember, if I said someone's name from high school that you went to school with, you would think of them from that time? I have a hard time with it with my kids. My kids are growing every single day, and I still think of them like they're small babies, like they can't do anything for themselves. It's tough. I think a person the way you know them, and it's really tough to try to break that. And as people grow and evolve, it's hard for two people or a group of people to balance that. Who you used to be and what connected you, or maybe what didn't connect you, and now who you are today, and is there still some sort of connection that's holding your relationship together? I don't know what makes people like me the way that I am, in the sense of I'm more comfortable being alone, but it makes me very sad. Like, I don't have people in particular, besides my wife and my kids, that I would like to actively be spending time with. But it's one of those scenarios where when I wake up in the morning, it's like, yep, it's going to be another day alone, another day by myself, trying to either find things that I care about, to learn about, listen to, write, read, like try to create something. But yeah, been struggling a little bit. I was telling my pops earlier, I just feel like I don't even know what's going on with the world anymore. I started this show and I started everything that I do because I had the hope that there was the mass majority out there that still had their heads screwed on with common sense and that still believed that good would ultimately win out, and being good and being good to others is the best way to be, no matter what's sold to us, no matter what's presented as fact or whatever. I had hoped that a guy bearing his soul and bearing my struggles for maybe the entertainment, but also the life lessons of others that could maybe benefit and never make the same mistakes. I sit around and I just watch people crave bad and drama and chaos, and that's not me. That's not who I am. So I don't, when I tell people like I'm not a drama person, I don't deal with drama, it's not in my arsenal of things to give a fuck about, I mean like I don't do it at all. I cut it off and I'll let it die. Like, it's just, and that makes for a very, very lonely time, and it can be hard sometimes to stay inspired. So if you're feeling like that, I guess today's lesson would just be to know that there's other people out there that understand you, and that do love you, because I love every single person that's sitting in a room right now by themselves listening to this, and you're just sad because you're alone. There's not anybody you necessarily want to reach out to you, but you would just like someone to send you a positive interaction. Here it is. I love you very much. And with that, guys, I'm going to go ahead and sign out. Go ahead and check out the roadtoredemptionpodcast.com for all the merch and the old episodes. Make sure you thumbs up this video, especially if you made it all the way this far. And guys, subscribe if you haven't already. Don't just listen. Subscribe. Find us on all audio platforms. If you're taking a long road trip here soon, listen to us, get caught up. And we love you so much. We'll check in with you next week.